the Suicide Prevention Month awareness. We start this session with just to support how we support those who have been affected by loss and also those who have been affected by the suicide. So today's we have a great team led by our will introduce the panelists for today and take us through the topic. I don't know, Alexander, you can pick up from here. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tito. And for all those who are listening to us, my name is Alexander Masika. I'm a journalist. I'm a philanthropist also, and a mental health advocate. So today we are talking more about as Tito has said, it's a suicide awareness month. That is September, and the topic will be healing after loss, supporting those affected by suicide, among other stories that are related to suicide. And before I continue, this is a safe space for anyone, and we want to assure that so that if you feel you can express yourself the way you want, and also in a well manner, can say that. And also for us to engage more, would like to hear your support. If you have any question, you can just raise your hand, or you can also type in the chat box. And also feel free to interrupt as we going with the panelists, as we continue to seek the wisdom surrounding our suicide issues that most of us, when you look at the graph, suicide is the fourth leading cause of death among youths that is aged between 15 to 29 years. And most of us are in that age gap that are here. And so, it's really a matter, it's a very heavy matter in the society, and how we handle issues, especially with loss and grief of our loved ones who have died because of suicide. So I want to welcome Julius Kizito. So he'll just introduce himself. I'm not sure if Pamela is in, but Julius, will just kindly introduce yourself so that you can go to the topic, because we want to maximize this 1 hour. So welcome so much, Julius.
All right, thank you, Mr. Alexander. Greetings, everyone. I'm Julius Kizito from Uganda. I'm a counselor, election counselor, working at Hope and Beyond. I'm also a counselor with Celine Mind Care Network. I'm very passionate about young people. I'm very passionate about mental health. And I'm excited to be amongst the panelists of this discussion. Thank you so much.
I'll just ask a question to Julius, and also to all of us to brainstorm as he shares whatever he has prepared for us, because when it comes to suicide, it's a very delicate matter in the society. And sometimes we, the affected people that are left here, we don't know even how to express it, because sometimes it seems as a shameful way that most of the people tend to it, like they shy away from it, because everyone thinks committing suicide, it's like something in our African culture that is not there. So what can you say about this, and how do we start from that journey now of acceptance that this thing has happened to our loved ones, and it's something that we can't see? And before so we can just start from there, and then we can continue with how this journey comes into, because now it's us who are left here that are grieving. Where do we start from?
All right. Thank you so much for that question. First of all, yesterday we were celebrating the World Suicide Prevention Day, and I'm excited that people are now starting to embrace prevention as a way of dealing with mental health issues. So having such conversations, they really matter. They do support our communities. So about this topic, you realize that most of there is little attention that is being given to families, loved ones, friends, partners of individuals that have died by suicide. But if I have a loved one who has died by suicide, there are no systems in our communities to support me. And now that means I need to hide, I need to suppress these emotions. Because of the stigma, I can't even express myself. Maybe some of the community members are making reckless statements. They are just minimizing, the point, because there are people who feel like, killing yourself, like dying by suicide. How can that happen? Is that being crazy? They are not acknowledging the emotional pain that do people face. So I think facing a loss of a loved one is very difficult. Normally, if you lose someone, it can, bring emotional pain, grieving, feelings of despair, anger. But now, imagine when you've lost someone due to suicide, it gets more complex. And then, going through that process of navigating, how did this person die? What contributed to that? There is always that question of why would he die by that time? Why would he or she do that? So, and in most cases, there are no answers for that, even when someone leaves a note. So it is very complex and challenging for loved ones. The suicide prevention, the suicide loss survivors, the family members, loved ones. But you find yourself in a room. The society is already, distancing itself from you. They are not ready to even listen about how you're feeling. And then, the media is coming, police, you have to answer the questions. So you find that these people do go through a lot. And it has to do with the feelings of guilty. You start asking yourself, what would I, is there something that I missed? Is there something that maybe I had to do better? Is it that it is because of me that this person, engaged in that? So it is a roller coaster of many emotions that suicide loss survivors face, the people that have lost loved ones. And compounding all these questions of uncertainty, questions of how am I going to live, questions of, how do I move forward? All this brings turmoil to the loved ones, inner pain, and that results into complicated grief. Yeah, but normally when you lose someone, yes, you can cry, you can mourn, and time comes and you navigate that. But then when it becomes complicated grief, those issues don't just resolve it takes longer than usual. So it is always affecting your day-to-day activities. It is affecting your functionality in life. So how do we, how can I deal with that? First, we need to understand that mourning or dealing with grief varies amongst individuals. I can lose someone and it doesn't take me time, I maybe talk with someone, I maybe engage in prayer, I pray for that person, and then boom, I get over it. But then to another person, it takes longer than the usual one. So we need to understand that grieving or mourning for the loss differs in individuals. And we must respect that, you know. It's not being weak, it's not being lazy, but that's how there is individuality amongst us. So ways on how to, you know, to navigate this, seeking professional help is very, very important, because grief is one of the complex things to deal with, because you can spend, you know, the person died maybe 10 years ago, but it is just a movie, or it's just a memory, it's just a song, and then it takes you back to that state. So there is need to get therapy and maybe a trained psychologist to provide you with tools to navigate these emotions of guilty, to navigate these emotions of anger. You know, this anger is directed towards God. This anger is directed towards the person that died by suicide. You're like, why would you leave me? Why would you leave me with this pain? So having skills from a professional person can support you, and then joining support groups, of course, that does matter. As in addiction, but there are AA groups. So does with grief. There are groups that you can join. You know, you share your experiences, you learn from other people's experiences, and also try to look for such communities. There are certain websites like BetterHelp. They can provide you with experts in grief, or people that are in that very experience. And then expression, looking for ways of express, like art, writing, journaling. Hello? Okay, I think it's been a mistake. Yeah, so I was talking about expressive ways of dealing with this loss of loved one. But you can consider writing, you can consider painting, you can consider journaling down, you can consider writing letters to the person that died. You write down the things that you feel you didn't tell them. That helps you to get relieved, yeah, than keeping it to yourself, because emotions that are suppressed at a later stage, they can outburst, they can burst. So it is very important to also look for expressive ways of dealing with these intensive emotions. And then fostering social connections, that is also very important. Make sure we are social animals, and there is a way compassion heals. When we engage in group activities, when we engage with other people, our bodies produce, you know, oxytocin, that neurotransmitter of happiness. So you find that there is battle relief. You find that there is, you feel there is a concern. You feel you are in a community where you're not ridiculed. You are in a community where you're not criticized. You are in a community where, you know, people do relate with your challenge. Okay, so Emily, maybe you could mute your speaker.
Microphone, yes.
Yes, and then engaging in rituals or memorials. There are different ways of, you know, doing that. It's not that maybe you should always do this to mourn, but find what works out for you. Is it that you go and pray for them? Is it that you go and visit their resting place? Is it that you hold a memorial? Is it that you light a candle? Yesterday, people were lighting candles for those that have died by suicide. So engage in rituals or memorials. You know, it's not about the incident of their life can't be determined by the last incident of dying by suicide. There are good things that have happened in their lives. So can we celebrate the good things that happened? Yeah, it is also a way of expressing emotions. Remember, losing someone by suicide comes with intensive emotions of guilty, shame, anger, depression. So all those intensive emotions, there must be a channel where they are dealt with. And then volunteering and advocacy. Of recent, I was reading a certain book. This woman lost two husbands in a period of they were like 6 years. The first husband died by it was a terrible accident, and then she tried to resolve that, getting back to her feet. She gets another partner, and then this person also dies by suicide. He was found hanging. Not only that, after a few years, even the son dies by a chronic illness. But then she's writing a book. She's showing our resilience. So that means that yes, you can go through all this turmoil, but you can find meaning in it. So volunteering and advocacy, it is something that you can interest yourself in. We are having suicide prevention awareness, mental health awareness. How do you engage in such activities? Self-care, yes. Losing someone doesn't mean that you don't need to take care of yourself, because the fact is, even almost 90% of the suicide cases are related with mental health illnesses. So that means if I don't take care of myself while dealing with these emotions, I can also get affected. We've seen people who lose loved ones. You lose your mom by suicide, and you feel like life is meaningless. So you're lacking skills, you're lacking coping skills, you get overwhelmed, and you feel like maybe I should also take my life. So it is very important, as we are on this journey of recovering from this loss, let's also try to take care of ourselves. Let's try to, to engage in activities, bond with others, eat healthy foods, have enough sleep, trying to find better ways of dealing with this. So those are some of the ways I've mentioned that we can look at: volunteering, advocacy, engaging in rituals, fostering social, connections, expressive ways like art, writing, journaling, joining support groups, seeking professional support. All that can help someone who is trying to navigate these complex emotions that do arise when you lose someone by suicide. But then there is also something that I can tackle before Pamela comes in. It's like I saw her joining in. So I just want to talk about a few things with how can our communities create safe places for people to talk about their experiences with suicide loss. I think this is very...
Yes, you can talk about it, because I was actually to ask about the social environment of we the people now. How do we support these people? Because most of the time we find we are the perpetrators to these people, because we don't know how to help them. Maybe you can talk about that before Pamela comes in, because I think I've seen her in the meeting. Yes, so just briefly talk about that.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Alexander. Yeah, so briefly, our communities is where we live. So we need to make these communities safe for our friends who have lost their loved ones by suicide. And how do we do that? I believe most of us on this engagement almost 70%, there is someone you know that died by suicide. Could be a friend, it could be a relative, it could be, you know, a distant relative. So it means this crisis is affecting us silently. And then if we want to deal with it, we need to rise as a community. So one, let's facilitate open conversations. We need to engage in open dialogue about suicide laws, But let us not, you know, criticize it. Let us not blame these people. Maybe their sentiments like it is your negligence. It was your responsibility to make this person not die. So we need to create that environment of empathy, of understanding, trying to put ourselves in the shoes of these loved ones that have lost a friend. You know, there is this thing that happens. I lose someone by suicide, and then the society, instead of empathizing, validating my emotions, they are making fun out of that, memes out of that. So that's already stopping people from opening up. So we need to facilitate open conversations like this, webinars, Twitter spaces where these people can do talk about their emotions. And then, of course, promoting confidentiality. You find that if we are creating these safe spaces, let's ensure that their privacy is prioritized. It can be difficult for someone to share with you their experiences with losing someone who died by suicide, and they are fearful that you're going to let that information out to the public. So let's affirm to them that this their sharing is safe and it is strictly for their empowerment and empowerment of others. And then, of course, promoting awareness. You realize that culturally and religiously, there are some religions who look at suicide as a sin, you know. It's someone's default. They are not considering the emotional pain that someone goes through. They are overwhelmed, and then they find themselves, you know, they have no option to do. So if we let people express their emotions, if we don't stop people from, you know, coming to seek help by criticizing their emotions, I think that can also work dealing with our, you know, with the stigma from the culture and the stigma where I come from in Uganda, tribe Baganda. When someone dies by suicide, the body is cleaned. Yes, it would be having some benefits of, you know, letting others learn from that, but it's not a good thing. But then from the other side, it is making other people who could be having such emotional pain to feel like they are not normal. Yeah, and in the end, still to bring the same results. So it is very important for us to deal with the stigma, offering peer support groups. Let's ensure that there are support groups where these people connect because they understand, they can relate, and those support groups can foster empathy and solidarity. So I think for now, let me stop here and I let Pamela to also contribute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Julius. We'll come back to you. I have some questions for you. And also, if you have a question, kindly put it in the chat box. We'll answer as we continue the other questions. But now I want to give time to Pamela. Pamela, hi.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you. Good to see you here.
Same.
Okay, so we were somewhere in the discussions, and Julia said has shared some insights about seaside, and maybe I'll give you a chance to say something before then we deal with some questions afterwards,
Okay.
which I'm expecting from our listeners, and also have some. So I'm also listening to you as you discuss about this topic, because I know it's huge. Definitely, Julius hasn't covered everything, so I'm just gonna give everything to you. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Masika. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Good evening to everyone.
Definitely.
Apologies for the late joining. I had a crisis I couldn't avoid, but I'm here now. Um, yeah, I am a mental health advocate, counselor. My name's Pamela Natasha Bugembe. I'm very passionate about any issue to do with mental health, and it's always an honor to partner with Sound Mental Health and also Julius. I'm familiar with him. And yeah, so just to get direct into what we're supposed to cover today, I think when you're looking at suicide, it's very crucial to know the term called postvention. Postvention is the opposite of prevention. So prevention is, the awareness about something before it happens. Now, postvention is something usually that comes up after something has happened. So because suicide is the way it is, we cannot avoid postvention. And sadly, we usually have to base off the people who have taken their lives. It is very sad, and it's not even something I would say that is proud, to have, even in a society, in a family, to know that people who have actually been through this. It's very devastating. However, nonetheless, we still have to use those very stories to spread awareness to other people so that we kind of don't let it happen again. And so when we're dealing with suicide, I feel like in our societies, there's still a lot of stereotypes. And I can assure you that even after September ends, you'll never hear any advocate, anyone talking about suicide, unless if it's, let me say, a talk that is directly on depression. That's maybe when they try to hint on it. So it's something that we try to avoid talking about because it is a difficult conversation and most people don't want to engage in it. However, it's very important because it's what, the fourth, I think the fourth cause of death among the youth worldwide. That is serious because if you look at all the disease that are there, all the accidents that are there, all the situations in which you could die, and that is number four. So I feel like we have to handle it with sensitivity because it is very sensitive. It's not a topic that you just come and just say anything and giggle and laugh. I mean, you can laugh and giggle if necessary, but it's something that is really, really serious. And so for me, I feel like the most important thing that we need to cover when we're looking at suicide, number one, stigma. We need to break the stigma. If you know someone who has been through it, someone who has suffered by it, because there is a quote that says suicide doesn't solve the pain, it just passes it on to other people, which is true. And of course, if you're having suicide ideation, that doesn't matter to you. But usually, if you, take your life, the people that you leave behind are going to feel accountable. They're going to feel responsible for what has happened, and that is going to scar them for life. You see, grief can scar you if it's just your father who died or your friend who died, and you had nothing to do with it. That can scar you for life. So imagine if it's someone you are talking to every day and knowing that you could have helped them, but you actually didn't. So in this talk, I'm not sure how much has been covered, but I do look forward to learning and listening more and interacting with people on topics to do with suicide prevention because it is a very serious thing and it should be taken as so. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Pamela. And so there is a question that has been posted on the by by I hope I'm pronouncing it well, Curtis Okinyi. So what are the strategies put in place to curb someone who really has reached the stage of committing suicide? And that now comes with also the suicide ideations that you've just mentioned now. How do we deal with that? Because sometimes maybe most of the people can tell you they have they thought about committing suicide at some point, or they just say, I wish I was dead, I wish I was dead. Is it a suicide ideation also just saying I wish I was dead? And also the suicide ideations, how do we curb them? How do we start from now? Because that is what leads to someone committing suicide at the end. So how do we curb this first now? Maybe we can start from there and then we continue the questions. Any one of you is open to answer the question.
Yeah, I can answer that.
Okay.
Okay, so first and foremost, when you're usually dealing with things to do with mental health, I would say awareness. We need to spread as much awareness as we possibly can. And when I say awareness, I'm not just saying tell people to stay alive, tell people to fight for their lives. I'm saying actually encourage people to go to therapy. I'm saying reach out to someone and go with them to therapy, introduce them to a therapist, introduce them to people who are actually willing to help. Sometimes it's these things that do matter, because as much as fine, we do agree that friends do play a big role, but some friends cannot help heal you, because they're also dealing with something that they're struggling with. So just sensitize and be mindful of the language that you use. You've mentioned that people like to say, I want to die, I want to die. Some people do mean it, others do take it for granted. And that is another issue we have in mental health, because when we are dealing with such things, people just want to throw around words and misuse words and make serious disorders and serious conditions look like it's just a joke. That is a very big problem that we are struggling with. You'll find someone who says, if you want to kill yourself, I saw a meme of someone who was selling suicidal ropes in different colors, and people were laughing and liking. And I for me, I can't understand the insensitivity of some people, but it is what it is. I guess what we can do is, you as you be the change you want to see. It has to start with you. If your friends know that maybe you do therapy, or you will not make them feel less than because they're doing therapy or because they're struggling, you can create a safer space for the people around you. That would be the first and foremost thing, because we are not going to just shout every day, yeah, don't kill yourself, stay alive, stay alive. And when your friends come to confide in you, when your friends are struggling, you're the very person who's engaging in making jokes at them, or being like, hey, you're going to now in Uganda it's called butabika. It's a psychiatric word. It's something that they just go, if you tell anyone you're in therapy, the first thing that will come to their mind is you're mad. And mad is an insult. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
actually the same thing here in Kenya. Sorry to interrupt, but the same thing. In Kenya, we say umechizi.
Umechizi.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's such those things. You look around all your friends and there's no one you can even tell, hey, I'm struggling. So sometimes it has to start with that. I don't know if Julius wants to add on that.
Yes, I've seen him raise his hand. Julius, you can maybe add something about it.
Okay, thank you so much. Maybe something I can add on that. How can we support? How can we intervene in such a crisis where someone is maybe at a risk of dying by suicide? One, we can use this acronym. It is ALGEE. ALGEE. A is assess. So you need to assess for any risk of crisis. What items or materials that this person could be going to use? Like, is this person going to harm himself? Is he experiencing distress? How is the behavior? So the first thing to do is try to assess the situation. And that has to do with asking questions about how they are feeling, telling them about what you may have seen, heard, or noticed that causes you to be concerned for them. Questions like, could you be having suicidal ideations? Actually, it is recommended you ask him directly. Yeah. So the first thing is to assess. After in that assess, there is that approach, the timing and the setting. Yeah, if it is a crowd, setting, you can tell them, you can request them to have, a private, safe place. You listen and communicate non-judgmentally. Remember, we are doing the acronym ALGEE. So you've assessed them, now the current situation. So you have to listen and communicate non-judgmentally. Of course, yeah, so this has to do with listening, active listening. It has to do with accepting how they are, it has to do with empathy, trying to imagine. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Julius.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, I was saying that practicing empathy at that moment also matters. You try to put yourself in their issues. So at that, you're looking at ways of connecting with them, making them feel like there is someone who's ready to support them at that point, and making them to feel like, yes, I can confide in this person. So that's a second part of listening and communicating non-judgmentally matter. Questions that has to do with them expressing themselves. And in most cases, you would find that you don't even need to speak. You just need to sit with someone. You be there. You let them feel, I'm there with you in this difficult situation. So that is the second thing, listening and communicating non-judgmentally. The third G, remember it is ALGEE. So the G is you give support and information. Yeah, now at this moment, after listening to. Hello, am I still on?
Yes, you're still on.
Sorry, so after understanding their current situation, you've listened to them, they're now getting connected to you. Now you need to give them information and support, validating their emotions, normalizing their emotions, letting them know that at times things can be difficult, and that has to do, if you could give them, some information that suicide is common. Suicidal ideations are common. This could be because of you are overwhelmed. Someone can get overwhelmed. You try to bring up that conversation of this thing is happening. It is okay for you to feel that way, okay? And then you provide information from trusted resources. What do you do when you're overwhelmed? You can practice breathing exercises, etc. So that is the giving information and support. Then the E is to encourage support, encourage the person to get the appropriate professional help. Now, at this moment, remember, you are not a professional. Yours was to intervene in this crisis where someone was maybe attempting, or was maybe at a higher risk. So now you need to encourage professional support for this person to get, to get a professional in that aspect. And then you need to ask them of whether they have sought professional help before, and whether they would be able, they would find it okay, having professional help, so starting that conversation centered around the person's hopes for recovery matters a lot. So that is the next thing you need to consider. Encourage that person to seek appropriate professional support. Then the other E is to encourage other supports. Okay, you've encouraged this person maybe to seek counseling, you've given them a contact of a therapist. Now encourage them to look for other supports like self-help strategies. There are many there are many apps that do provide, how do you deal with stress, relaxation techniques, could they talk with their loved ones? So try to look at other supports that can, intervene. The friends, the church leaders. So it is very important for you to also consider other systems in place that can support this person. So that is the acronym for mental health first aid in such a circumstance, how you can support someone who is at a risk. You do approach, you do assess, you listen, you give advice and information, you encourage professional support, you also encourage other supports. I think that can really can help us in intervening in such situations. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Julius, for that. And then there is someone who is asking that you can maybe type the acronym in the chat box. Yes, kindly you can type the acronym on the chat box. And then there was another question before I give Aaron the microphone. It's about the culture and suicide. You talked about how people sometimes they are whipped because they died of suicide. Do you think this is also an enabler of us people, or it shows more people that this is a bad thing, and then it makes people now more worse in their situations, especially for the loved ones that have been left behind? Because I'm thinking in this way, a loved one for me has died of suicide, and then the village elders come and whip him or her. It just paints it's like another psychological torture that this person did a bad thing because culture says it's a bad thing. So how do we handle from that? And also, you can answer that, and also as you answer, if suicide is a generational thing, because sometimes people might be confused about it, and also if it has occurred in your family, can it also occur again, or maybe it's something that isn't prevalent in your family? So you can chip in and help there with that.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me hope I got you clearly. So the theme for this suicide prevention month, it is changing the narrative on suicide. So the conversations we're having, the language that we're having. So you find that stigma is the greatest barrier, like that scenario you've given us, where the body of someone is, put under such happenings. So to me, first I'm looking at the loved ones. How do they perceive that? How do you perceive when your dad, anyway, the body of your dad is being treated that way? Someone who is you expect to rest in peace is being the body is being put under such circumstances. So I feel this adds on the on the pain that you, the loved one, gets, and this also stops those who could be having suicidal ideations, or those who could be having emotional and distressing situations or issues in their lives, because they're like, this means you shouldn't be, they call it being weak. You shouldn't be weak. So that means it stops people from seeking help. It makes people to look at suicide as how can I call it? As a bad thing. Yes, it's a bad thing, but that pain to that that thinking in our mind that whoever dies by that is a weak person. There is a way it makes others who are having challenges to suppress their emotions. They don't let them out, and it kills the conversations around this positively. It limits individuals to come out and testify that they have ever had this. It's like how you see AIDS, how people were struggling really to come out, how stigma was affecting us with dealing with HIV. So it is in that same line that it makes us unhuman. There is a way it has to do with killing our emotions. Yet emotions can't be silenced. You can't silence emotions forever. You can't silence them today by engaging in unhealthy coping mechanisms, maybe substance use, avoidance. But ultimately, after some time, these issues will affect you. And then when you look at it from the angle of mental health issues, this pain can also contribute to mental illness. It can contribute to sadness, which can result into depression. So are we helping, or are we stopping the efforts to curb this? Yeah, that would be my response.
Okay, Pamela, do you have something to say about that?
Yes, I would like to briefly talk about something called epigenetics. So epigenetics is whereby if as a person in the environment you're living in, you're exposed to certain, unfortunately, people who come from families that have had experienced losing a loved one to suicide have a higher risk of actually struggling as well. But that doesn't mean that because you've ever lost someone in that regard, that you automatically will also, take your life if life gets hard or something. It's also a matter of the environment you live in, the surroundings that you live in. And sometimes you tend to think that it's just a genetic thing, but if every day they're telling you how your father did something very traumatic, sometimes you find yourself also drawing yourself to that kind of image. So yes, it can be sometimes genetic, or it does have a genetical component to it. And then, yeah, I would say that Mr. Julius executed the other part really, really well. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for that enlightenment. And so I want to give this chance to Aaron to ask his question, and then next will be Okinyi.
Hi guys.
Curtis, let's first let Aaron ask, and then you'll go after him.
All right. So it's okay.
Okay.
Question.
Thank you. My name is Aaron. I'm a psychologist and also a member of YMCA.
Aaron, we can't hear you clearly. Think you're far with from your microphone.
So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm connected to a different device. So my name is Aaron. I'm a psychologist and also a member of YMCA. And my suicide, I would use knowledge from psychological first aid. First of all, one thing I learned about helping others is you have to empathize with them. You don't go there with your own presumptions on maybe the weight of their.
I need some.
So maybe you don't go there with presumption of the weight of their burden. And secondly, you don't give advices. You don't give your advice based on your own experiences. So the best thing to do is to just listen to them, maybe validate their what they're feeling, and don't suppress, as maybe as we learned from our culture. Those people who have suicidal thoughts are considered weak or maybe bad example to others. So I'm learning one thing maybe from, for example, the terrorist organization. The government, in some cases, in movies I've watched, even in reality, they don't like to give media to those who claim to have participated in terrorist activities, mainly because they will give their ideologies and they will spread to others, and others will want to do them. So I don't believe suppression is an answer, because despite all that, terrorist activities still happen. So that's my opinion, and thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much about that, Aaron. And so I'll give Okinyi Curtis. I'd seen he had left the meeting. I'm not sure if he has rejoined. So it's 2 minutes past 9, but before that, we want to say thank you for listening to us. If you have another question, kindly, you can also put it in the chat box as you continue. Then in the matrix of all this, we have talked about it, about suicide ideations, the social environment, how to create an enabling environment. Pamela talked about the prevention, the stigma. What now? The question is, Pamela and Julius, sometimes now we, the same people, I'm going back to the social environment people, because most of us, some of us even don't know how to even identify this problem. At first it's there. We don't know even to, we're living in a world, like most of us don't know whatever is happening with our friends. Yes, I know this person, they have lost someone to suicide. But now we don't know even where to start from. We don't even really, it's like we don't, I can say we are very ignorant of what you're supposed to do. Because simply, is it something we have been cultured with or something that we have grown up knowing nowadays, like everyone for themselves, such phrases, I come before others, I prioritize myself compared to other people. How do we deal with this ideology? Because even if sometimes you're trying to do awareness, sometimes you're doing all this awareness about suicide prevention, but now there's the other side. Aaron has talked about suppression because everyone comes with their own ideologies. How do we maybe handle this in terms of this world and how it's fast paced and everyone thinks for themselves? I don't care about my friend. I'm just there because they are friends, maybe are benefiting something. But at the end of the day, if they lose someone, if in that journey, I'm very absent because definitely maybe I don't care. I don't want all those things that people say, especially in social media. And that's how people have been brought up, that kids, like everyone is for themselves and how the world is showing things to us. I can say that in a vague way. How do we deal with that? How do we even start to convince someone that sometimes it's not about you, it's also about your friends and the people that are around you and the environment that surrounds you? Where do we start from that? I don't know if you're getting me. That's like a parting shot, and as we come to a conclusion. I don't know if you have heard me well.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Alexander, for that question. I feel it is a very important one because trust me, if you look at the statistics, they will tell you 80% of the individuals that die by suicide, there are already signs that have been happening for a significant period of time, but maybe we don't know how to identify, but maybe we don't care, but maybe it's not our turn, you know. I feel it also has to do with our communities. Now, if you go into, you know, how we were divided, scramble and partition, but I don't want to go there. I feel the solution to all this is compassion. It is kindness. If we but do feel this is important, we start spreading kindness. We start spreading kind words. We start doing kind acts. We start these conversations. We continue to create awareness. I don't think we do have to force people to embrace humanity and love, but I feel by us being examples, we can easily influence them indirectly, because kindness is contagious, love is contagious, compassion is contagious. So if it starts with us, we change ourselves, because there is that saying that we either live as brothers and sisters, or we die as fools. So let it start with us. By being compassionate, by listening without criticizing, by being there for others. Ask yourself, throughout this week, how many friends of yours have you checked on? You could be seeing their statuses, you could be seeing their posts, but have you taken time to call one of your loved ones? Okay, that is something we can reflect upon. So for me, I feel the solution to all this, the solution to all the challenges that we could be having in our communities that do contribute to suicide cases must be curbed by love, compassion, and kindness. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Julius. Pamela, do you have something to say about it?
Yes, most certainly. I like that Julius has said that love is contagious. It truly is. And so you can never really know what someone else is going through. And so we ought to be mindful of the things that we say, of the way that we act, of the jokes that we make around certain people, because it might be funny. But if someone actually took their lives and say you are the cause of it, do you know that you can't live with yourself after that has happened? So I think sometimes people need to be very sensitive about these things. It could be you, it could be your sister, it could be your brother, it could be your friend, it could even be someone that you don't know. But it's very, very important that you continuously practice the act of kindness. I know it's hard for some people. And I won't pinpoint what gender, but it's hard for certain people, for certain types of gender, to be more compassionate towards each other, to be more open towards each other. And I think that's part of a stigma that we are also still fighting with. But that's a conversation for another day. So I would say, to get people on board with taking suicide prevention awareness, we just have to encourage people to be mindful, to be kind. It doesn't kill you to be kind. It can be anyone. If you're going to say something mean, think about it. If it was your mother, if it was your sister, if it was someone, if someone is struggling, reach out and help them, because it could be you. I think the best way that we can approach this is just pretend you're looking in a mirror. Just pretend this person is you. If you actually struggle with empathy and compassion, just think, if it were you going through something, how would you want to be helped? Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I want us to wrap up this meeting now. It's 10 minutes past 9. So Julius, I'll give you 45 seconds to maybe wrap up something. You wrap up, parting shot, and then also I'll give Pamela the same time to do a parting shot before I do mine. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so I think something that I've learned in the few years I've had in this profession of supporting people with mental issues, I've learned that early intervention always matters. The more things keep on piling, the higher the risks and complications of that. So if you do have emotional challenges, if you do have a psychological pain, if you feel that your life is not moving on well, try reaching out for support. And if you have someone that you feel, they could be going through something that is very difficult, try to reach out to them, because mental illnesses, the earlier you intervene, the better the results. The more you delay, the complicated, sophisticated the case becomes. So to all those that are on this call, this engagement, that could be struggling, please reach out. And a reminder for us on this call still, let's spread awareness. You sending a motivational quote to your loved one doesn't cost you a dime. Yeah, so those words do matter and do make people to move on with life continuously. Thank you. I appreciate you. I'm Julius Sizito. I'm from Uganda. I'm a counselor, very passionate about young people and mental health.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Julius. Pamela?
Okay, my closing remarks would be suicide is a painful thing. Suicide is a sad thing, but you don't have to go through something like that alone. There's people that are always willing to help you. There's people that will actually walk with you through that. So as I was saying, suicide is a very sad thing. Suicide is a very painful thing. But as people, I feel like you don't have to go through it alone. You don't have to go through that dark time in your life alone. There's always people who are willing to walk with you through that journey. There's people who have been where you've been, even people who have lost people to suicide. There's always people who you can sit with and just talk to and know that there's actually hope after experiencing such a tragic thing. And for fellow therapists, you don't also have to go through it alone. We often tend to focus and shine the light on other people, and we forget that we are also human and that we also go through difficult things. And you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot help people if you're struggling, if you're barely managing, to be honest. So I feel like even as therapists, even as counselors, even as people in the field, we need to be there for each other more. We need to seek the help if we are also struggling, because this applies to all of us as well. You might have the information, but that doesn't guarantee that you're entirely okay. So even for people who are in the field, please, if you're struggling, reach out to me or to anyone on the panel today. We will be glad to help you. For people who are not therapists, same thing applies to you. We are here for you the entire time. Thank you. My name is Pamela Natasha Bugembe. It has been an honor.
Thank you so much. And I'll say thank you so much to everyone for listening. Without you, the three of us could have just said just a normal meeting. But thank you so much, guys, for listening to us. Sometimes life happens. There are things you can control. There are things you can't control. If you can control them, well and good. If we can't control them, we accept and we move on. But all the things take time, and so just give everything time, and it will just direct you with the flow. So, and whatever works for me don't necessarily means it will ever work for you. It might never work for you. How you push on with life doesn't like, there is no manual script that you have to follow this for you to be the person you want to be, but just be you. But at the end of the day, just know there are other factors that you should consider when just being you, in terms of the social environment, the economical environment, the political environment. So it affects you, but just be safe take care, and love yourself more also. But in terms of love, spread love to everyone. As they said, compassionate and kindness is everything, and it summarizes everything in terms of mental health. With compassion and kindness, I know we can deal with a lot of mental health issues in this world. So I'll just say also thank you now to YMCA Central for everyone that has organized this series. And you have said, Diana Mugo posted something on the group chat, and she said, "Welcome to YMCA Mental Health Awareness Webinar. This occurs in 2 weeks. It's an activity and a mental health program at YMCA. And YMCA Kenya is a youth-led organization, to those who doesn't know, striving to empower the young people mentally, physically, and spiritually to be responsible citizens. And we have different youthful programs such as this mental health, there's sports, there is gender-based violence, there is arts and dance, and supported by our enthusiastic youth and members. So if you want to be a part or to participate in any of these, there is also other groups there. There is YMCA Reality. So if you want to join any, or you have any info that you want to know, you can contact Diana. There is a number in the chat box. So thank you so much. I really appreciate for your time. And may you all have a nice evening.